Oh man, I love this company, I love this franchise, and I love the Emmy Award-winning Alien RPG released by Free League, or Free Allegan if you have blue eyes and live in a country with healthcare. This RPG is based directly on the entirety of the Alien franchise, drawing from graphic novels, comics, and of course, all the films. This is probably the first RPG I've ever bought that I sat down and read it cover to cover without stopping. From the beautiful stark cover art, I was instantly absorbed in this hopeless, nihilistic, terrifying, uncaring universe where you are constantly reminded that in space, no one can hear you in space. I won't get too in-depth reviewing the book or anything because I mostly want to hit on my experience with it so far and my favorite aspects of the game engine. But if you're wondering if you should get this game, my personal answer is yes. Oh man, yes. If you want horror science fiction at all, I'm talking Dead Space, Event Horizon, Prey, Critters 4, this RPG is for you. Mind you, I only played the game's cinematic mode, which is meant to be played in a much shorter series of sessions as a 3-act structure and incurs player death and stress a lot faster, so I actually have no real idea how this game plays as a long-term campaign. It provides all the lore you need on the companies that rule this universe and planets, star system generator. It has tables for jobs if you're playing a squad of trained interstellar marines fighting for company interests, a team of rugged, wary space truckers shipping cargo across the dangers of Black Unknown, or desperate frontier colonists willing to set off on unexplored planets for any chance at a life better than this one. Story time! So, my players were awesome and spent a lot of time role-playing. More time role-playing than actually exploring Hadley's Hope. My players got as far as the command quarters block. However, the door was locked from the side they were on. So our janitor/ex-marine decided to use his cutting torch to slice it open. However, the sound of the torch hissed loudly in Hadley's Hope. And little did the party know, a xenomorph had been sleeping just on the other side of the door. As they entered the room, the alien dropped from a vent above them, landing between our ex-marine and our scientist. The former still had his cutting torch in hand, so he seared the xenomorph. It did almost no damage, yet acid blood exploded from the wound onto both himself and the scientist, dropping them both to 0 HP and giving them wounds rolled from the critical injury table, which immediately killed them both. This was all from one attack from the player. They didn't even get to see what the alien was gonna do before they died. This game does not mess around and very accurately represents the deadliness of the xenomorph. Alien attacks are rolled only with a d6 using a pre-made table featuring their iconic attacks, and every single alien in the book has an attack on a 6 that either instantly kills the character or maims them to the point of helplessness. And an insta-kill on 2 players before the alien even gets to attack is enough for players to get, oh man, we are not playing D&D, maybe we shouldn't be trying to fight this thing. What do I do? We had a total party kill, but mind you, my players were all happy with their deaths, and overall agreed it was a very alien ending for the game. It was still an excellent horror experience, and overall a fun time so long as the players are warned beforehand, you will likely die in this game. My personal favorite mechanics were probably the personal agendas and the stress mechanics. The addition of personal agendas for each of the players makes even the short-term game a lot more fun. Other players also won't get as angry at you for your player betraying the party because, hey, the game literally told me to do it. The stress mechanic was awesome for building tension. Basically, when something stressful happens in-game, like seeing a xenomorph kill someone in one hit, you get a point of stress. For each point of stress you have, you roll a die in addition to every skill roll. Success on stress dice count for success like normal, but rolling a 1 on a stress die triggers a roll from the panic table. The final result of 1 through 6 on the panic table, you manage to keep calm. But as the stress piles up, the results get higher, and the panic becomes much more damning, losing moves or actions, gaining stress, or even becoming catatonic. These panic rolls force the player characters to react realistically even if the players don't to the horror of it all. Really, my only gripes with the game are zones, some rule vagueness, and the actual organization of their scenarios. And by the scenarios, I mean the included Hope's Last Day and Chariot of the Gods, which was the only other published campaign at the time I'd written this. Zones are the unit of movement used in the game, described as being between a few steps up to 25 meters. They're kept intentionally vague, I think, so that the focus is more on the narrative of exploration rather than counting tiles, but when the map layout of the ship is set up as if it's essentially a dungeon crawl, knowing how far a player can actually move is kind of important. And the map is incomprehensible if you try to use a consistent definition of what a zone constitutes. On the topic of layouts, you really have to read these room descriptions. Absolutely vital information is scattered in these uniform blocks of text, and I often wouldn't realize an important NPC or item in the room was supposed to be secret until halfway through describing it. Other than these few nitpicks though, I really love this RPG and I cannot recommend it enough. Free League has quickly become one of my favorite game companies. I encourage you to support them and schedule a game as soon as possible. Thanks for watching. I hope you get a game in this week.